Hi, this is Alan. I'm here for Friday Reads, but first, I want to give you some information I found on YouTube. There is a corona's pandemic uh, clock that actually shows the number of cases, number of deaths, number of recoveries, and how many countries there are. So far, it's at quarter to 8 Central Standard Time. There was 138,578 cases, 5,083 deaths, 70,687 recoveries. And that's in 133 countries. Now the world population is 7.8 billion. And so you can take those numbers and do whatever you want to with them. But it seems to me that the number of people that are recovering and the number of cases is close. And that the number of cases, 138,578, and the number of deaths, 5,083, is percentage is very low in amount of deaths. China, which started out with this case of the coronavirus, hasn't changed. And they had reported 80,812 cases, 3,176 deaths, 64,114 recoveries. That means they have more recoveries than they do deaths, which out of a nation of over 1 billion, that's a percentage of is very low. Also, the since coronavirus is actually a virus, it's actually not caused by contact. It's actually caused by someone sneezing and coughing on you, just like the flu, just like a cold, anything else. So let me go on to Friday Reads. First is this one. This is the Wisdom Book. It's by Robert Alter, translated and commentary. I'm reading the book of Job right now. I'm on chapter 11. And once again, Robert Alter put in a character in one of the chapters, as he did earlier, as I mentioned earlier in one of my videos. Let's see if I can find it right quick here. This is a very good commentary. I recommend Robert Alter's commentary to you. I saw Matthew and Mayberry Books had that 3-volume set of the Hebrew Bible, and he read some from the Genesis and talked about it. So it's a very, very good commentary. And let's see if I can see it right quick. Maybe it was on chapter. I thought it was on chapter 9. I should mark these things. Sorry about that. Oh, here. Yeah, and this is going through the book of Job, which doesn't have an author, and so it's been called one of the oldest books in the Old Testament, and you have a poet going through, and the book itself is very, very good because it has it shows you how Satan goes up to God and standing in line to meet him, and God gives him permission to go torture Job and get rid of his cattle, his servants, his everything, and get rid of his sons, his daughters, his wife. And then he comes back, and but Job still blesses God. And he comes back and he comes back and Satan stands in line again and you know, well, is he still blessing you? And of course he is, but okay, do whatever you want to with them, but don't touch his soul. So he goes off and he torments Job a lot, and Job is sitting there in dust, scraping boils off himself when his friends show up, or so-called friends, and start talking to him. And I cannot, I need to mark this down. I might show this later, or when I find it, I'll show it in another video. But I believe in his comment, he mentions Kant. So I'll show that later, some other time. So that's Job from the Wisdom Books by Robert Alter. The next book I'm reading is, of course, the March Mammoth book, James Clavell's Gai-Jin. And I'm on page 519 out of the book. Is about 1,216 pages. So almost halfway done. Almost halfway. And I mentioned that our previous videos that this book is so actually the story is based on a true story when the British were in Japan, and the same year, actually, 1862, when there was an incident that took place between because the British officer did not bow to the shogun and the lord of Japan, and did not bow to him, and was hacked to death. And so therefore the British warships fired on Japan. And so this is the story that James Clavell got, and so he's expanding that story and adding other stories into it. So a couple of the stories I mentioned before is about this French woman who is Catholic and who's now dead, wants to marry this British, he is now the Taipan of Japan, and now he wants to, but he's losing money because the North has blockaded the South, and so that's where this guy has some interest in cotton gins back in England. And there was another one here. So James Clavell adds some of the Civil War in America into the story. And here's one right here. And wherein a couple of men are talking. War's never good for people. God damn, the cost's gonna be huge. You hear that Lincoln just got his goddamn income tax through Congress to pay for the war? And all of the other spoons hesitated. What's the rate? 3 cents on the dollar, he said disgustingly. They all laughed. You sure? I heard it today by a special off the California Bell. 3%? You're bloody lucky, Demetrius said, his plate almost empty. I was expecting 15. You crazy. That would have been a revolution. You're already in one. Anyway, 3% is the same as us, but yours is only for 3 years. Wait a minute, Jamie said. That's what Lincoln promised. Swore it was only for 3 years, according to his last Frisco Journal. If Congress passed it, 3 years? True, but you know the goddamn politicians, Jamie. Once they get a tax through Congress or Parliament, they'll never take it off. Goddamn Congress shysters, all of them. 3%'s only beginning. You're right there. Norbert began equally sourly. Then to Loon, yes, I'll have another slice, and a good dollop of cream. You're right about bloody taxes. Bloody Pitt, he's a bugger who first invented income tax. And he promised the same and reneged like Lincoln will. Politicians are liars all over, but Robert Peel should have been horsewhipped. That's a very funny interchange between the generals talking about Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, raising taxes to pay for the Union in the Civil War. I wonder if any American historians picked that up in their biographies of Lincoln. Not sure. Anyway, the story's going along very good. Really enjoying it. The next one that I actually finished as a mystery, and my first mystery that I've finished in a long time. This is Anne Perry's Death of a Stranger. I mentioned this on Goodreads that I was reading Anne Perry, and somebody slammed me because they hated Anne Perry, and you can Google Anne Perry's name to find out her past, and the person said that she would take all of Anne Perry's books and burn them. But I enjoyed this book. It was very entertaining. The William Monk series, and William Monk has amnesia, which I mentioned on my previous videos. That I like detectives, inspectors who have sort of a defect about them, like Harry Hole of the Joe Nesbo series, who's an alcoholic, and he doesn't go well with the rules. He makes his own rules, and he has trouble with failed marriage, but he gets the job done. And I don't know what Sherlock Holmes' defect was, but I don't know if there was any. But I mentioned about Sherlock Holmes and his Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, about Arthur Conan Doyle being so detailed oriented in the stories. And I remembered after I said that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle actually started out to be an eye surgeon. And so you have to be real detailed about everything if you're going to be an eye surgeon. Very detailed. So he opened a shop in England, and but nobody came in, so he wrote stories, and that's how he became detective stories. So that's probably how it got really detailed. So Anne Perry's Death of a Stranger is fun, very good, very fascinating read, and the ending was a little slow, but it was okay. It was just fine. Everything came together, so it was a very good read. My next read for March Mystery Madness will be one that a lot of people have read before, and everybody mentions this one. And this is a book that I was supposed to read in April as part of my read a book that was printed in a decade, and that would be the 1930s, and when it first came out. And this one is Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. This is a printed by Berkeley Books of New York, and the story first came out in 1934, and this is a 2004 edition, the second printing. Excuse me, this trade paperback, and I look forward to reading this. And I will get back to reading this one, Storm of Steel, by Ernst Junger, This is the original 1929 translation. This is also will be for the read a book by a German author. This is about a vivid first-hand account of World War I trench combat, lifted from the diaries of Ernst Junger, a German infantryman who would grow to one of Europe's most talented writers. The book was first translated in English in 1929 by Basil Creighton, and acclaimed translated many other classics of German literature, including Hermann Hesse's Stephen Wolf and B. Travins's The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. And there's been several revisions of this book, and but this is the original translation. This is by let's see who printed this one. This is a reprint of the 1929 edition, published by Chateau Windows, London. Copyright Mystery Grove Publishing Company. And so this is a lot. Ernst Junger also wrote a book about his days as a Nazi officer in occupied France, occupied Paris, France. So, be dipping in and out of this one. Well, that's it for my Friday reads. Y'all have a good weekend.